We worked on our black walnut harvesting and processing in the last few weeks, and this year we went to an orchard where we were able to collect from named cultivars of some really special varieties. It's been an abundant year for black walnuts such that picking by hand actually makes sense. Here Joe is getting quite a bit of walnuts without having to move very far. Juan is using one of our favorite tools, the nut wizard, to collect walnuts. We've got one that is sized for chestnuts, one for acorns and hickories, and one for black walnuts. We use them every year when it's an abundant year. Pulling them up with that tool lets us stay upright, and then filling 5-gallon buckets in this case took a little less than a minute per bucket. It's kind of fast. There are some spots where it was so abundant under the more productive trees. In this case, this is one called Sparrow. I was able to fill a 10-gallon folding crate in under a minute just by picking by hand. It's pretty amazing. All in all, we spent a little under an hour and collected, I think, 12 of these crates, so well over 100 gallons of nuts in the husk to sort and organize. In this case, we have 6 different name varieties of nuts that we're storing in these containers, organized so that we can process them and keep them separated from one another. There's timber varieties and nut-producing varieties and all the like. Here we're using a system by hand where Joe, you can see, is using this metal shelving we got used from a friend for $10 a shelf. And this allows us to take these nuts that are pretty far along in a rotted husk and abrade them just slightly to take material off. And that gives us an additional harvest of husk maggots that can go into the chicken yard in a little bit. It feeds us in a lot of different ways. The really green ones will be set aside to make dye, and back in the back area, Juan is using a pressure washer we got used from Craigslist a bunch of years ago. It still works great, and with that little bit of abrading at the outset and then the pressure washer on the nuts, that gets them pretty close to as clean as they need to be, certainly for seed for our own planting or to sell named variety seed, and also clean enough to be dried and cured for winter eating. So hand abrading and a little bit of power washing gets them where they need to go. The next step will just be drying. This video will just show the introduction, or the first step of all this. We'll have a to be continued around how we're processing these nuts for seed and for eating and how we crack them and all that. But you can see we're just using, here's a little bit of an upgrade, using a piece of firewood to abrade them in bulk. You could drive over them as well, but we thought it would be interesting to see if we could do this as a community project with hand tools, and this sort of metal grate on a little slope works extremely well. Last but not least, we take all of the leftover material. This is the ground husk and all the little husk maggots that are in there. This is one of the favorite treats of the chickens in the fall. Pressing apple cider for hens or for ourselves and dumping the grinds of the apple and cleaning the husks off of black walnuts and other nut crops and leaving that for the chickens. Huge amount of fertility in here. We're not worried about jug loan and killing plants. This is not toxic. This is all earth-affirming stuff that the chickens really love. We'll share more when we're ready to think about processing these nuts for sale of varieties and how we're storing them for the winter. But for now, we've got some to dry and the chickens have fun things to eat. Thanks for watching.